Oh, a little burp to start out. Hi, everybody. How's it going? This is my puppy. This is Zoe. She's a little lover. I've always been a big fan of dogs, and proudest day, because I don't have any kids, was when we got this girl. She's a big sweetheart, aren't you? Aren't you? You hate it when I pick you up, don't you? Yeah, she hates it. I hope I sound better. I bought a new mic, so that should help a lot. But I had a point in having her for the start of this. So one of the big things that I love about dogs is no matter what, they're always able to recognize how they care about the other living things around them. I mean, they're described as protective. They're described as loyal. All of this is true. They're very, very passionate animals, and they can feel a range of emotions. They feel shame. They feel ashamed. And there's just something wonderful about that they can feel love, and they don't really feel any sort of like longing hate. They can be angry with you. They can be sad. Just a wide range of emotions. But they always learn lessons. They're able to actually look at something and be like, okay, I did a bad thing. I need to avoid doing this. They're self-aware. They're very self-aware creatures. Just something I just absolutely love. Absolutely just brilliant animals. Great pets. So why aren't people like that? Like, I don't understand it at all. Why people worship people who can't even grasp these basic things that even the dumbest of dogs understands. The dumbest of dog is still going to be something that's lovable. Hell, the dumbest dogs are the least protective. They're more likely to just lick you to death than anything. I got a smart pup, though. So she knows how to be protective. She knows how to put herself in between us and any possible harm. And she absolutely hates that she's on my lap right now. So I made my point. So I'm going to go ahead and let her out. Okay. I know. You want to go down to mommy? And away she goes. Sorry about that. I just really wanted to make that point because dogs they're just so interesting. But why do we have such an issue with being that type of person? Like, why do we worship being the opposite of something that we would love to have around? Like, and I'm talking about Logan Paul, a guy who I was only aware of like maybe 6 months ago, who, I got curious because I was like, what are the kids into on this? Why are they very interested in this guy? I mean, I don't get it. Let me turn on my light because I'm kind of dark back here. I don't get it, but I don't need to get it. I'm older. I'm not a kid anymore. But there's been this kind of trend I've noticed, especially coming from YouTube. I've always been a big fan of finding people on YouTube that I would feel like, I would want around, or that I can look up to, that I actually want to hear information from, that, not from a place of authority, but from a place of acknowledgement, a place of self-awareness, a place of feeling shame if they got it wrong. The ability to recognize that what they're giving people might not, if it isn't how they intended, they can actually go, you know what? I messed up. I apologize to everybody, and I actually mean it. And then there's Logan Paul, who is the type of person who got famous for essentially being an asshole. His whole thing was, him and his brother, whole thing is they do prank videos, which usually involves farting on people or just being obnoxious, worthless pieces of crap, which cool. And it's one thing to do that and feel like that's a thing to do and put it on YouTube. I mean, YouTube is supposed to be this big, giant open forum where that's what they do. You put whatever you want on here. I mean, I'm doing it right now where I feel it necessary to have this rant about this douchebag from I don't know where, these entitled rich kids who never had to deal with the consequences of their actions and clearly lack feeling of shame and self-awareness that even a dog can understand. And I think back to all the people I watch and the mistakes that they've made over the years and how they've owned up to them and how they've grown as content creators, as people who put stuff on the internet, to be those people who recognize that they not only need to be not viewed as assholes, but that they need to have some sort of decorum, not some sort of false existence, being something different from what they are, but to own, to project their best points. And at least if they have those less defined points, to know enough to keep them on a back burner, because it's damaging to what you do. Now, where I saw this trend, I began seeing it in the YouTubers that my wife started following. It started out where she was a big fan of the makeup tutorials. She's a big fan of high-end makeup and learning how to do different looks on with her makeup, and that's fine. I have no issues with that, and I talked to her about this too. And we share our love for YouTube back and forth, even though there isn't much crossover. There's a couple of channels that we do watch together, but for the most part, it's her with her makeup channels and the gossip and drama channels, and me with my video game channels. I follow some music channels and mostly politics. Whole reason I started this thing is because of mostly politics. And I started a live stream where I'm teaching songs on guitar over on Twitch, thanks to the very unique way that YouTube does their content creator, their content ID services, which we'll get into that in a little bit and how this is all going to likely play out. And I was aware of Logan Paul and Jake Paul, his brother, via my niece, who is going on 19 soon, and she was very adamant that she didn't like him. She's like, he's an asshole. That's what he does. She's able to recognize that. So, but these guys get a lot of clicks, and the drama channels that my wife follows, I keep telling her that there's one simple thing that you got to recognize about all of these people. She followed Jeffree Star for a while, and I had to talk her out of following it because all she was doing was complaining about how terrible he was, how bad a person he was. Manny MUA, same deal. she's like, this guy's terrible. He's a horrible person. He's not even that good at his makeup. Why do I keep coming back? And I said, well, then just don't. And I mean, I ran into the same situation. I believe it was last year with John Tron. Like I said, I follow the gaming channels. And when he came out with his whole thing, never mind the fact that his videos were decreasing in quality, that made it easier to do. But I had to let him go when I saw the disgusting things that he was saying and his lukewarm apologies and, I'm sorry if you're offended. No. Don't be sorry that I'm offended by what you say. Correct the problem, which is you feeling this way. Telling me that, black people are inherently more violent than white people, is not going to be a good way to keep your fans. For one thing, he had black fans. For another thing, I mean, how many of his fans who weren't black had friends or family who were? Or, I don't know, the type of self-awareness and decency in them to recognize that that's just blatant racism. I was able to do that and say, you know what? You're done. Bye. I haven't watched any of his videos, even his old videos that I love to death. I really like those videos. Find them hilarious. I have not watched anything from him since that happened. I refuse. I don't want anything to do with him. And eventually she got to the point where she was like, Jeffree Star, you're gone. Manny MUA, you're gone. She's getting to that point with John Kuckian and, all these other people. And I keep having to have the same conversation over and over. And this is related to Jake Paul. I always say, these people who get by on being assholes, who that's their talent, is to talk shit, to get on there and just spread venom about other people, to say negative things, to embrace their negativity and say, oh, fuck you, I'm the best, and if you hate me, the haters, blah, blah, blah. There's a ceiling to that. There is always going to be a ceiling to that. You may get popular off of being that person, but as soon as you hit that ceiling, you got nowhere to go but down. There is no ceiling to not being a dickbag and growing your channel naturally. I mean, there's a long, long list of people who aren't perfect, but aren't widely regarded as just unrepentant assholes. And that's what Logan Paul is. And he is reaching that ceiling. We saw it with PewDiePie, someone who I was never into, who I always saw as someone who refused to get any sort of media training when he got huge. And I said, how long before he does something really fucking stupid? Well, then came the whole Fiverr thing. And then not shockingly at all after that, then came the whole thing where he thought it was okay to say the N-word. Oh, because he is just saying it because he was upset. It was a heated gaming moment. I'll give you a list of how many times I've said the N-word in my many, many, many years of playing video games and having heated gamer moments. The list is small. I had an awkward period in my early 20s. I regret every moment of it. Because I thought I was edgy. I thought it was funny. And you know what? It wasn't at all. There were a lot of things that we used to think were somehow funny, And eventually you have to ask yourself, what's the joke there? What's the funny? I had to start asking myself about certain people and certain things that I found funny as a younger, teenager or early 20s, I had to start asking myself, would I want to be around this? Would I want to witness this? I'm a big fan of live shows. I'm a music guy, so there's that part. I like I like going to shows. I've been to a lot of comedy shows, and I've seen some sketch shows, and we know some people around this area who are trying to do the same thing, and I've enjoyed attending those things. And I would not want to go to any event hosted by, say, for example, the guys in Jackass. I mean, they at least had the self-recognition to not do anything that was going to harm anyone else. They may prank other people, but it was always harmless. No one ever felt like, injured or hurt after these certain things happened. No one wanted to fight any of them afterwards, for the most part. Like, they didn't try to cause harm to these people that they made a part of this joke, and that's part of a good prank is, especially if you're going to throw it on the internet, is not leaving someone harmed, making it so that at first, they feel embarrassed, but they can laugh it off later. There's nothing to laugh off about the shit that Logan Paul does. There's none. If I had to put him in some sort of class, I would say on the Tom Green class. But even him, he tortured his friends and family, but he kept it within that for the most part. And the only things he would do to people on the streets is just shove a microphone more and more in their face. And that was annoying and is stupid to look back on. He wasn't funny when I look back on it now. But, he was annoying but harmless still, and not like what we got now. So if you don't know, I've been bearing the lead for a while now, doing a lot of build-up. If you don't know what happened with Logan Paul, yesterday he posted a video where he decided, I have no idea why, to go to a forest in Japan that was known for having a lot of people committing suicide in it. They have a very venomous and just very torturous mental health problem in that country, where how they view their employment is very harsh and very just, I don't even know what the right word is, but your job is the most important thing. And they work hundreds of 100 hours a week. They're made to feel like they're a failure if they work any less than that. And that's no way to live a life. We're not built for that. People are not built for that. But that's something that they do over there, and it's caused a lot of problems with people committing suicide. And the biggest site for where people go and commit suicides is in this forest, because it's a big wooded area, and they try to monitor the people who come in and out, make sure that they don't have anything that they can kill themselves with, but they do, because they feel like there's no way out. And that's a terrible feeling to be in. I've been there. From time to time, I still go there. We're only human. And we all have our breaking points. And all intentions aside, he still decided to go to this forest, film, and then he found someone who had recently hung himself. He was dead. hanging from a tree. Most normal people might take this experience, go home, and if they have this vlogging format, talk about it on that format to say, hey, you know, this is what I witnessed, and we really need to bring more awareness to the troubles that that people go through with mental health and suicide. And you know, here's the number for the suicide hotlines. You know, this is what you can do. You need to talk to somebody. You know, and even if you feel like that's somehow an empty gesture, which I totally understand, as someone who has dealt with depression his whole life, I can tell you that a lot of times to me it feels like sort of an empty gesture, because it sort of feels like, you know, oh, okay, here's this number that you can talk to somebody on. I don't have time to talk to you, but here's somebody else, you know? And that's kind of how it feels, you know? There's that Logic song where it's, you know, the goofy, who could relate? Woo! You know, whatever, but get into that. But you just kind of feel like, you know, if you're someone who's going through that, you can feel like, well, you know, you want somebody to take the personal time to try and talk to you and understand that not everybody has that kind of time, but you feel like everybody just dumping this number to you and saying, talk to somebody is like, talk to somebody else because I don't have the time. But at least it's a gesture. At least that is coming from the right place, even if somebody might have their own personal gripes with it. That I can acknowledge. What you don't do is post that video and with your reaction to seeing a dead body and then say that you were doing it for awareness of suicide. Because the only thing that you're saying about suicide by doing that is, if you kill yourself in this forest, a moron like me might go out there and put your dead body on the fucking internet for millions of people to see. I mean, for fuck's sake. And I'd like to say that I'm surprised that he would do something like that, but I'm not. Because I always recognized that this guy was famous. He has no discernible talents. I mean, he tries to be a rapper, and they do that fake diss tracks to, you know, each other, the two brothers and everything, and they're bad. He's not a good rapper, so he's not even talented at that. So his talent, what he's recognized for, what's entertaining about him, is the fact that he is just a dick. Just a giant, big old sack of dicks. And we're supposed to be okay with that. And you know what? I am okay with it, but I'm not okay with making him famous for it. And that's where I have an issue. There are a lot of people who are calling for content strikes against him, anything that hurts his bottom line, to get this across that, hey, maybe you need to check yourself. Plus, there's a weak-ass apology where he talks about what he was trying to do, and, you know, I do this, and hey, I'm popular, and blah, blah, blah. But it not at once acknowledges that, hey, maybe you need to apologize to this man's family. Maybe you need to apologize to that country for representing them in that way, as just this place where it's okay to take a live stream video of a dead man who saw no way out and decided to hang himself from a fucking tree. You know, I would rather go back and say, you know what? Who gives a fuck if we punish this guy? What's it going to do? This is what we expect from him. This is what we expect from creators like that, who only talent is how awful they are. So we can go ahead and push YouTube to punish them, and likely they're going to. And then they're going to tighten the restrictions for everyone, and they're going to start causing another adpocalypse because, you know, this is what they put all their money into. So, excuse me. So really, what good would that even do? I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But what's it going to do? I think what I'd much rather have is a recognition that these people should not be famous. Allow me to elaborate. Like I said earlier, there is nothing, no dickish thing that he can do that is going to, you know, shock me about what he does. Because this is what he is. This is what his brother is. His brother will be the next thing. He has no discernible talents. He has nothing propping him up. He's not a comedian. He doesn't even understand comedy. There are rules, as much as people want to say there's not. There are rules. But I lump him in with Mike Cernovich, Milo Yiannopoulos, and all these other people whose only job is they get by on pissing people off and then getting people to recognize them for that fact. And so long as you're not on the target of them, you enjoy it. Sort of like watching YouTube fight videos or World Star fight videos. It's all fun and games until you're in one. And then what? You know? So why are we so obsessed with making assholes famous? That's what I'd like to know. And how about we just stop watching them? You know, I know he's mostly liked by kids, but this sort of blind narcissism and just inane nonsense where the shitty things you used to do with your friends in high school, now there's a channel for those guys to just do whatever they want. I'm able to look back on those things that I did as a kid and just go, Jesus Christ, what the fuck was I thinking? These guys are going to have it on the fucking internet for everyone to see. So then what? Turn them off. Sit down with your kids. And if they like Logan Paul, ask them what it is that he's doing, and if they would like what he's doing to be done to them, if they would find it funny. Now, most smart-ass kids would say, oh, yeah, whatever, I'd laugh about it. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. No one likes having millions of people laugh at you. I mean, really. I mean, they fucking gave up their home address so that people would come and party. And your kids will probably say, oh, yeah, I'd love it if they lived in our neighborhood and they did it. And, you know, oh, that'd be so great. Until you needed to get something done and you're like, oh, my God, I can't get out of my fucking driveway. I need to go to my friend's house, or I need to, you know, maybe your kids are old enough to have jobs. I need to get to my job, Mom. I need to get to soccer practice. I need to get to football practice. But you can't because Jake and Logan Paul have all their fucking YouTube followers in the fucking street. And that happened. That actually happened. And, you know, last I'd heard, the people in that neighborhood were trying to get them kicked out of there because they live in a gated community. And which goes to show, you know, just how fucking entitled they are. That happened, man. Why? Why do we give these people so much attention? You know, I feel like the idea that Donald Trump got elected and this was happening before that, I feel like that could have been a predictor. That we just decided for that time to worship assholes as being good. You know, you can be the worst type of asshole so long as you're not an asshole to me, then you're fine. But the problem is, eventually, all these people turn on you. They have no loyalty. There's no loyalty for Jake and Logan Paul. They just want your goddamn money. That's all they want. So, if dogs are able to, you know, not be assholes and recognize certain people aren't, you know, worth their time, why can't we? We can go ahead and do the content strike, whatever. That's fine. It's going to happen. And then they're going to change the YouTube rules, and it's going to hurt more content creators who were already following the rules and now have to jump through even more hoops because of this asshole, because of the asshole that they propped up because your kids watch him and your kids love him, never really questioning why. And that's going to be bad for YouTube and the YouTubers that actually do their goddamn job and their due diligence to be good at what they do. That's all going to go, you know, that way. Nothing we can do about it at this point. But in the future, I think we need to recognize the danger of YouTube being that it's so open that we need to be more careful what we view or what we let our children or family or friends view and how they let it affect them. Otherwise, YouTube is lost as a platform. And we'll just have to wait until someone makes a new one. But, you know, well, with the way things are going, Google will shut down any attempt to do that because that's the monopoly they have. Come at me. You can't get blood from a stone, so what are you going to get from me? So that's my whole thing on that. Don't bother with the content strikes. Do it if you want to. It's going to happen, but I wouldn't put too much faith in it. Just stop worshiping assholes. Ta-da! Magic fix. Okay, let me just check this out really quick. So I got a thing. Just get that out there. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and check on chat, see if anybody is watching right now. I doubt there is. Cool. Whoop. Oh. Well, hello. My mom is. You mom is beach. Okay. That's interesting. I guess that was supposed to hurt me, but just made more than anything made me laugh because I don't know. Probably just some random bot. But hey, thanks for viewing if you're not. And hey, you know, my parents like the beach. They live in Florida, so they get to be on the beach right now. It's fucking cold as shit in here in Michigan, so cool. You know, maybe my mom is on the beach. Sorry. That was a lame. I realize how lame that was. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, something I've been mulling over for weeks, and I'm gonna try my damnedest to do this right, but we have a real problem on the left, the political left. Now, we in general agree on what we need to do to move, well, what we want to have happen moving forward, but we have these hangups that are really just messing us up as a group of people who can take political power back and really need to undo the massive amount of bullshit that's been happening over the past year. And if we don't do anything about it, well, we're going to have 8 years of this. God, will there be anything left? Ugh. So we really need some sort of reckoning on the left. And I'm going to talk about what I think that should be. What do we need for us to get all together? My first video was on Jimmy Dore, and the people who profess and push this division are not the people who are included in this. They make their money off of doing this. So I don't really have any way of saying, you know, that they need to be changing what they're doing, because they're not. They're making their money off of this. They're going to change with the people who view them. So Jimmy Dore, Tim Black, the young, you know, the most of the Young Turks, you know, all these, Kyle Kalinske, I include in this. Sometimes David Pakman, they all aren't included in this. And even though I agree with them, Sam Cedar isn't included in this, even though he's doing exactly the things that people need to do and what I agree needs to be done to help our situation, to guide us back to the light, to take back over what we really desperately need to take over in order to advance as a country to where hopefully, I don't know where fucking Canada is. That's the bar we're at now, is, you know, maybe one of these days we'll be as good as Canada. So I'm pretty active on Twitter, and I like to talk to people, and I like to see if I can get see what how people tick on these issues. There's the first issue I'd like to talk about is what Michael Brooks calls the dumb alt left, the dumb centrists. The, you know, Hillary Clinton did no wrong. It's not Hillary Clinton's fault that she lost the election. And Bernie Sanders is bad for the party. And Bernie needs to be a Democrat. So I'm going to get to all sides of this argument to show how every side is right and how every side is demonstrably wrong. And I want to start with the Hillary Clinton supporters, because, dear God, they are the most vicious. They are unfortunately, the most numerous. And they're the most misguided. God, they believe everything that they hear on MSNBC. You know, oh, it wasn't Hillary's fault at all. It was Russia. You know, and that's such an unintelligent argument. First of all, it wasn't just Russia. Russia had a small part to do with it. But a lot of the things that they were reporting on were based on a flawed candidate from the first go. I'm not saying that Hillary Clinton cheated Bernie Sanders out of the election. That's a whole nother argument, and we're going to get to that. She didn't. I think she won fair and square, but there was definitely some thumbs on the scale in her favor from the Democratic Party. That is true. We know that. But they did not alter anyone's votes. They did not change a single vote, thus describing it as rigging in their favor. Yes, they did change the debate schedule. That did happen. But, you know, that shouldn't have changed the results of the primary. Bernie Sanders got in late. He wasn't even running to be anything more than a transformative candidate, which, by the way, he succeeded. He wanted to change the party for the better, and he's succeeding in that. It's slow, but it's working. So I want to specify that. That's the amount that I'm going to defend Hillary Clinton. But the Democratic Party definitely still did have their thumbs on the scale, and that does not look good. Hillary Clinton's tactics during the primary were not good. She wasn't more outreaching to black voters, which is what a lot of Hillary Clinton supporters like to tell me. You know, and they tell me, oh, usually mostly white people tell me, well, why don't you talk to people of color and ask them how they feel about Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders? They'll tell you that Hillary Clinton was reaching out to them more. Which, no, they won't. Because I have talked to them. And guess what? They felt patronized. A lot of them felt very patronized by the things that Clinton did. For fuck's sake, she said that she carries around a bottle of hot sauce in her fucking purse. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it right next to your watermelon and your fried chicken? Massive? Like, for fuck's sake, give me a goddamn break. That's what you call outreach? She literally had Black Lives Matter supporters come up to her and tell her her grievances. And she said, I don't care about feelings. I care about policy. Which is the right belief to have. But it's the wrong thing to say. That's patronizing to the people that are supposed to be supporting you. And if you think that she had all this black support, she didn't. Because clearly, where the fuck did it go during the general election? They left. For good reason. It's because she chose to ignore them, not because she outreached to them. Her outreach was so fake, so placated, so transparently awful that it drove them to stay home and not vote at all. She was not better for people of color. And how do I know that? Because I talk to people of color. I live in a city mostly filled with people of color. I've asked them. I've heard what they've had to say. So don't give me any lectures. And, you know, you can say all you want that maybe it's a selective size. But like I said, I'm active on Twitter. I try to talk to everybody. I see opposing views or I see views that I agree with, and I try to engage with people because I want to see what makes people tick. I'm really interested in that, and I'm much better online or in a small scenario like this where, you know, I'm talking to you than I am in a big group. I'm not a big group person. So when I go to my in-laws, when I go to my friends, when I go online, when I go to Twitter, and I see that, I can see exactly, and I can see all of it, what they say. And the amount of black people who say that Clinton was good to them, infinitesimally small. Even the ones that still agree with her and defend her can say that she was patronizing. Because she was. She was. She was patronizing to all the people who were supposed to vote for her. Especially, and this is key, and this is what Hillary Clinton supporters hate when you bring up, especially to swing states. The states you need in order to win the presidency. States like Michigan, which she lost. Florida, which she lost. Wisconsin, which she lost. They can never explain it. They blame it on Russia. Russia didn't do that. Russia didn't tell her to stop going to these states. Russia didn't tell her to ignore us. But she did. And Trump didn't. That's the scariest part. Now, I can very easily say that Hillary Clinton came here more times than Donald Trump. She came to Flint specifically more times than Donald Trump. He came here once and he was embarrassing. Decided to pick a fight with one of our pastors because he thought he could railroad her inside one of our churches. And he couldn't. And he didn't confront her there. She confronted him there and said, you need to be respectful. This is not for a stump speech. This is for you to come here, recognize what we've, acknowledge what good we've done for the city. And say, I'm, very honored to be here. I'm very glad to see the efforts that are put forth. And then you get to sit down. Instead, he turned into crooked Hillary, blah, blah, blah. And she had to stop him. And he picked a fight with her on television when he left. He came here once. He came to Warren and in Grand Rapids, still within the state, multiple times in the general election. Hillary Clinton came to Flint twice and came to, I believe it was Detroit, once during the general election. And she lost the state. A necessary state. So Russia didn't do that to us. Russia didn't do that to Michigan. There was that weirdness in Royal Oak, but I got news for you. Royal Oak leans Republican because those are rich tech kids there. Those are rich engineering kids who live there. Most of them are douchebags. I used to work Uber, so I spent a lot of time there. That is douchebag central. She wasn't winning that city anyways. She won Genesee County because she came here. She showed she gave a shit. And we recognize that he didn't. The rest of the state didn't because they didn't have that interaction with her. She chose, again, to take it for granted. She fucked up. Russia didn't do shit to cause that. And now, I know she didn't go to Wisconsin, and I know she didn't go to Florida, and I know she didn't go to all these swing states, and she lost them all. The vast majority of them, I should say. I don't have an electoral map in front of me. But she lost the majority of the swing states, the big battleground states, the states that you need in order to win an electoral college, which is unfortunately how you need to win a goddamn election. I don't give a shit that she won the popular vote. We bring that up to Trump to make fun of him because he's so fucking thin-skinned about it. And it distracts him. And a distracted Trump is a Trump who isn't passing policy. That's better than a Trump that isn't distracted and is just, passing / cutting regulations and policies. So we need to acknowledge that. That is the reality of the situation. Yes, Bernie would have won. But here's news for you. So would have O'Malley. Pretty much anyone who would have ran in that race on the Democratic side would have won the election with a better idea of how to run a campaign, with a better idea of how to attack battleground states, how to get in touch with people, and how to not be fucking flawed in the first fucking place, which she was. Never mind the fact that there's a lot of shit that wasn't true. The shit that was actually true was bad enough, and the shit that was untrue stuck to her like glue because there was so much shit that was true. She was flawed from the very beginning. She had an uphill climb and she didn't even recognize it because she ran against Trump. This is the next mistake she made in her campaign. She ran against Trump and not for her policies, which a lot of people don't realize shifted more towards Bernie. They didn't start out that way. They shifted more towards what Bernie was pushing. And Clinton supporters, I know you don't like this. I know you think I'm being sexist for somehow. She's still lost. These are decisions that her and her campaign of mostly men decided to take that caused her to lose, whether you like it or not. That is the goddamn truth. I'm not trying to come down on you guys. I'm trying to reach out to you guys, make you realize that we can't keep living in these bubbles. There was no splinter candidate, as I was recently told as of yesterday. Sanders was not a splinter candidate. He was a transformative candidate. He wasn't running to win. He was running to change the Democratic Party. And it doesn't matter that he's not a Democrat. You don't need to vote for the secret club. The secret club is where you get all your money, where you get all your exposure, which is why he ran as a Democratic presidential nominee, which is why he took on Clinton. It's why he wanted to do it. That's also why he offered his services after he lost the primary, which he conceded. He gave all of his efforts to Clinton. And Clinton didn't do it. Clinton didn't use it. So it wasn't Bernie's fault that Clinton lost. It was Clinton's fault. It was her campaign's fault. It was her ineptitude as a campaigner, which she's been terrible at every single time she's won. The only thing she's won is the New York Senate seat, where she voted for the Iraq War. If you can't get that, then we're all lost. You must accept the reality of the situation. Anyone would have beat Trump besides Hillary. It's been proven. Not just Bernie. Biden would have won. O'Malley would have won. Anyone would have won against Trump. But not Clinton. She's not your savior. So, then we got Bernie supporters. I love you guys. But we need to start reaching out to the Clinton supporters. As much as they need to reach out to us, we need to reach out to them. The Clinton supporters don't like this, but we are the future of the Democratic Party. Progressivism is going to take over. Democratic socialism is going to be the policy of the future. People like Trump, people like all his cabinet members, and every Republican in the Congress, these are the last vestiges of the old guard, the old conservative guard, to take over our court system for a long period of time, which is going to slow us down even more. For all the people who are saying, well, we can't take baby steps, we need to take bigger steps, we basically fucked ourselves into taking baby steps. So cool. We're stuck. Should have bit the bullet and just voted for Clinton. It's her fault, but we need to accept that if we were one of those people who decided that we wanted to send a message to the Democrats, guess what? Message received, but we also have to take responsibility for the consequences that happen. You can't display the message and say, well, I didn't mean this part. Even though I knew this was going to happen, I didn't mean this. Well, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? Jill Stein is not our future. Like I said in the last video, she's not here. Where is she? She gone. She'll come back 2020, run as the Green Party candidate, get 5% of the vote, and then disappear again for another 4 years. She won't promote any of her candidates in the party. She won't use any of the limited funds that they have to promote any other candidates. She's going to use them to promote herself and her run for the highest office in the land, aiming for the stars and hitting nothing. Falling flat on her face. Not creating any sort of groundswell or anything. So we have to accept that we made a mistake. We have to realize that the lesser of two evil scenarios is what it is. That even if we're taking a small step forward, we're still taking a step forward. There is no giant leap at this point. The courts are going to be gone. At this point, McConnell can't help himself, and he's trying to pass rules to where he lessens the debate time for judge appointments, which means those judges are going to get in there sooner. So how did that help us? It didn't. And as I said in the last video, no matter who we elect, no matter who we could get Bernie, and we could elect 100 Bernies in the Congress or in the Senate, and all of the House. I'm drawing a blank on how many's in the House. 400 something in the House. We could elect 400. We could have mega majorities in Congress, and it'll all die in the courts. We're back to baby steps. Whether we like it or not, we are. If we chose to stay home because we didn't like Clinton, or if we chose to not recognize what was better for us, then we also have to choose the consequences. And the consequences of that is we're going to be dealing with things that are going to be really bad for a while, and we can't do much about. And then after that, we're going to get our guys in who are going to attempt to do things and hopefully not have them go to the courts, which they're likely to do because conservatives are conservatives, and that's what they do. And they'll get their activist judges to undo everything. And that's not a better situation for any of us. So we have no choice but to at least accept that we need to make small progress. and hope that it doesn't die in the courts. That's where we are. That means, God forbid, Hillary Clinton runs again and actually gets the general election, which we know she won't at this point because she's the only thing less popular than Trump and less popular than Congress. But she's still less popular than both of those things. But we still have to vote for her. I hate it. It sucks. Whoever runs on the Democratic ticket and gets in the primary, gets in the general, we need to fight in the primary to get our people elected. We need to all agree on what the best possible solution. We need to vote for someone who can actually win in the primary. And that doesn't, and Hillary Clinton supporters, back to you for a second, that does include progressive candidates. That does include Bernie Kratz. That does include Bernie himself. So take your sour grapes and deal with it. You're going to have to vote for him too in the general. If that's who we choose to throw out there, you're going to have to vote for him too, because otherwise we get 4 more years of Trump. We get 4 more years regressive regressive Congress of gutting us country after all this is done. We want this to both of you guys. We need something to fix. Otherwise, what the hell are we doing any of this for? Thirdly, to the third side, which I represent, the people who recognize all of these things, we need to reach out to both of these sides and stop being so confrontational with them, so negative towards them. I think it's time to retire the nicknames that we have for them. Dumb Dumb Left, Dumb Dumb Centrist. I think it's time to let it go. 2018, I think, is a year where we fight. I decided to put that on my Facebook, that 2017 felt like a year where we rolled over backwards and we kept waiting for a hero to come and fix this. We kept waiting for someone else to come and take care of the damn thing, do the damn thing for us, because we fucked things up. You know, why isn't anybody doing anything about Trump? Why isn't anybody doing anything about blah, blah, blah? You know, Mueller needs to save us now, or Hillary Clinton needs to save us, or Bernie Sanders needs to save us. All these people that we put so much of our worship into to come and save us. And we have to realize right fucking now, none of them are going to save us. There is no one coming to save us. There is only us. And we have to take care of it. We are numerous, we are smart, we are strong, and we give a shit, and we got beaten down and battered, and we spent a whole year freaking out about what the new normal is. But that doesn't mean we have to accept it as the new normal. It doesn't mean that we have to allow the new normal to continue to be the new normal. We can change this, but we have to do it together. We need to heal the wounds left by each other. Hillary Clinton was a bad candidate, but guess what? Bernie Sanders didn't win the primary. Cold, hard facts that everyone needs to accept on all sides on the left, no matter what you believe. Voting for Jill Stein was a mistake. If you did it to send a message, guess what? Message received, and you accomplished nothing. Accept that part. Accept the blame for what you did, for what we all did. We all fought amongst each other about this, and we're still doing it. We're still rehashing the 2016 primary. We're still rehashing the general election. Like it's going to make any sort of goddamn difference going forward. We're so hung up on the past that we can't even get out of it. So we did that for a whole fucking year. And we accomplished nothing. As we watched Trump gut this and gut that, and repeal this and try to take away our health care, and then finally succeeding in at least making our health care double, triple. We'll see how much it ends up costing after all this shit goes into effect. I can tell you one thing. My personal healthcare bills, they shot up. I'm not happy about it. No one's happy about it. You know, I'm in a city that badly needs infrastructure spending, and yeah, we are using the stuff that was donated to us to fix the pipes, but we're not doing shit else. Not fixing the goddamn roads. We're not fixing our bridges. We're the fucking Great Lakes state. How many fucking bridges do you think are in this state? A lot. And they all need to be repaired. And we're not doing jack shit. And why aren't we doing jack shit? Because that's what regressive policy does. And we allowed that to happen. We are more numerous than the right. We know that for a fact. So, 2018 is the year that we fight back, that we come together, that we forget about these differences. We recognize where we were wrong and where we were right, and where we need to go moving forward. Because there's no savior coming. There is no one coming to fix this. We need to fix it. And until we do the goddamn thing, we have nothing to say beyond that. So we need to talk to each other. We need to have a legitimate dialogue. We need to stop blocking each other because I don't agree with what you say and I made a statement that I can't prove. 2, because they do it on all sides. We need to do that. And until we do, we're not going to win anything. We're not going to change anything. We're not going to see anything get better. We're not going to see even incrementalism. We're going to see the regression. And that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't advance this country. We are the laughing stock of the world. Most citizens in other countries in the world would have already stormed the White House. They would have stormed their leader's palace or whatever over the shit that we saw in 2016 or in 2017. We sat on our asses and we're just like, somebody needs to do something. That somebody's us. So what the fuck are we going to do? You know? We're going to keep calling our congressman and see how much of a difference that makes? Hey, guess what? I got news for you. They passed the tax bill. It's signed into law. That's going to happen, and the repercussions of that are going to hurt us more than 2008. That's just the facts. Like it or lump it, we got it. The division needs to go, though. Because the only one who are going to fix it is us. You know, the right's not trying to fix anything. They're too busy burning down the house with themselves in it and laughing at how much it pisses liberals off. Because, hey, guess what? We're in the house, too. So, what are we going to do together? Are we going to stop the bickering? Are we going to try and push for change? Are we going to try to win? Are we going to quit putting all our faith into politicians, putting our faith in the hopes that someone else will fix the problems that we created? Or are we going to keep sitting on our hands and bickering amongst each other about a thing that happened, that we can't even agree on the actual facts of what happened? I don't know, man. I know what I'd like to do. And it's definitely not sit on my hands. You know, I have very limited resources to do much. This is my thing that I'm doing. This is my thing that I can do. I can afford internet, and I have a very shitty computer and bought a $40 mic so that I can do this. Let's bury it. Let's be better. Who gives a shit? Oh, Huey. Oh, Bernie. You know what? None of them won. So what are we going to do now? You tell me. Because I did this. I did my part. I'm just the guy that does that. So, whatever. I'm just going to hope for the best on that, honestly. And, you know, we need to stop looking at each other so derisively and so divisively, and just accept that we all fucked up. And that's probably the hardest thing for everybody to accept, is that we all fucked up. We are all a part of this massive problem. We all created this. We all did our parts. You know? And at this point, it doesn't really matter. So, I don't know, man. I turn to greater minds than myself on what to do next. But, you know, at my level, I think the key thing we need to change is what we do now. And how we are to each other. We all want the same things. We all do. We all want to feel like we live in a country that actually gives a shit about its citizens. So, there's your olive branch. Use it. This shouldn't be this hard. This is a thing that matters. So even if you guys have to come together and get pissed at me for pointing out that all of us are to blame for Trump, all of us are to blame for the Republican Congress that is raping this country currently. All of us are to blame. Even if you want to get mad at me for saying that, at least you all agree on something. Use that as your olive branch. I don't give a fuck. Just use something to bring you guys together and stop bickering like children. Accomplish something. Do it right. Get it done. For now, for our future, and for our country. Because I'll be goddamned if I'm going to sit through 4 more years of this guy. My eyes are already on the door out of this country. I don't know how I can make that happen, but I want to. Because I'm tired of feeling like we can't even agree that people are people. Why would I want to live in a place like that? I don't know if there's a place that exists, but I know that there's places that exist that do it better than us. So there's that. As a friend of mine put in his music video, treat people like people again. Quit the divisiveness and just let's come together to make things happen. I guess I'm in dad mode I don't know. But I don't know. We'll see if this works out. I honestly hope it does. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please subscribe. Please follow me on Twitter to let you know when the next stream is going up. I'll also let you know when I'm streaming on Twitch next, whether it's video games or it's my guitar broadcast, all of which I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying this. You know, even if no one listens, I'm just going to keep talking because it's not hurting anyone, and YouTube allows me to do it. And hey, at least I'm not, destroying someone's neighborhood or posting videos of dead people without recognizing the stupidity and irony behind it. So at least my heart's in the right place and I can be that self-aware. It's got to count for something. And if not, then, I'm sorry. Can't please everybody. All right. I'm going to go back to hanging out with my wife and my puppy. And you guys all have a wonderful night.